The heart behind the uniform. The fluorescent lights hummed softly in the empty hallway of Riverside Elementary School. Emma Martinez pushed her cleaning cart methodically across the polished floors, her yellow rubber gloves squeaking slightly as she wrung out her mop. It was 3:47 p.m., and most of the children had already been picked up by their parents or loaded onto buses heading toward neighborhoods she could only imagine living in. Emma had worked at Riverside for 3 years now, and she knew the rhythm of this place like her own heartbeat. She knew which classrooms smelled like crayons and which ones smelled like the hamster cage that desperately needed cleaning. She knew which teachers stayed late grading papers and which ones rushed out the moment the final bell rang. She knew the sounds of happy children and the sounds of lonely ones. That's why she noticed when little Sophie Chen started staying later and later after school. Sophie was 6 years old, with blonde pigtails that were always perfectly styled and dresses that probably cost more than Emma's monthly rent. Her backpack bore a designer logo, and she was always dropped off by a different person, never the same nanny twice, it seemed. Emma had overheard the teachers talking about Sophie's mother, Victoria Chen, the CEO of some tech company, whose face appeared on magazine covers in the teacher's lounge. Today, Emma was cleaning near the bulletin board advertising the upcoming Mother's Day celebration when she felt a gentle tug on her uniform. She looked down to find Sophie standing there, her blue eyes shimmering with unshed tears, her small hands clasped nervously in front of her pink dress. "Ma'am," Sophie whispered, her voice so quiet Emma had to crouch down to hear her properly. "Can you pretend to be my mom for the school play?" Emma's heart lurched. She set down her spray bottle and looked into the child's face, seeing a loneliness there that no amount of expensive clothes could hide. "Sweetie, where's your mama? Doesn't she know about the play?" Sophie's lower lip trembled. "She's always in meetings. She has a very important job. Miss Rodriguez said all the mommies are supposed to come on Friday for the special show, and we're supposed to make cards and—" Her voice broke. "Everyone has someone coming except me." Emma glanced around the hallway, then sat down fully on the floor, not caring that her uniform would need washing. She patted the spot next to her, and Sophie sat down too, leaning against her shoulder in a way that made Emma's throat tight. "Last year," Sophie continued, her voice barely above a whisper, "Mommy promised she'd come to my birthday party at school. I made her a special invitation with glitter and everything. But then she had to fly to Singapore." The little girl picked at the lace on her dress. "The year before that, she was going to come to the fall festival, but there was an emergency board meeting. And last month, she was supposed to have lunch with me at school, but she got busy," Emma finished gently. Sophie nodded, a single tear sliding down her cheek. "I know she loves me, she tells me on the phone, and she sends me presents from everywhere she goes. I have 17 dolls now." She said this last part without any joy, as if 17 dolls were nothing compared to what she really wanted. Emma thought about her own daughter, Maria, who was 8 and attended the public school across town. They didn't have much, their apartment was small, and Emma often worked double shifts to make ends meet. But Emma had been there for every school play, every parent breakfast, every moment that mattered. She'd learned long ago that time was the one gift you couldn't buy back once it was gone. "Sophie," Emma said carefully, "I'm very honored you asked me. But don't you think we should call your mama first? Maybe she doesn't know how important this is to you." Sophie shook her head firmly. "She knows. I told her 3 times. I even put it on her calendar like she taught me. But yesterday, her assistant called and said she has to be in New York for investor meetings all week." The resignation in that small voice broke Emma's heart. "It's okay. She has to work very hard. That's what Mrs. Patterson says. That's my nanny number 5. Or maybe 6, I forget." Emma was quiet for a moment, watching the other children's artwork flutter on the bulletin board. "Women's Day," the poster read, decorated with handprints and hearts. She thought about what it meant to be a mother, not the biological fact of it, but the everyday showing up, the being present, the witnessing of small moments that built a childhood. "If your mama can't come," Emma said slowly, "and if it's okay with your school, then yes, Sophie, I'll come to your play." The transformation on Sophie's face was instantaneous. Her eyes went wide and a smile spread across her features like sunrise breaking over darkness. "Really? You really mean it?" "Really," Emma confirmed, though her mind was already racing with logistics. She'd have to switch shifts, find someone to cover her route, maybe ask her neighbor to pick up Maria from school. But looking at Sophie's joy, she knew she'd figure it out. Sophie threw her arms around Emma's neck, squeezing tight. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." She pulled back, suddenly businesslike. "I'm a flower in the play, a tulip, and we sing a song about how our mommies help us grow. And afterward there's cookies and punch, and we give our mommies the cards we made." She paused, worry creeping back into her expression. "Is that okay? Will you have time for cookies?" "I'll make time for cookies," Emma promised, smoothing back a strand of Sophie's hair that had escaped from her pigtail. The next few days passed in a blur. Emma spoke with Sophie's teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, who looked relieved and sad in equal measure when Emma explained the situation. "Sophie's been so anxious about this," the teacher confided. "She's such a sweet child. But you can see the loneliness in her. I've tried calling Mrs. Chen's office multiple times, but I always get her assistant." Emma found herself thinking about Sophie at odd moments, while mopping floors, while making dinner for Maria, while lying in bed at night. She thought about a world where success meant missing your daughter's childhood, where board meetings trumped tulip costumes, where a 6-year-old learned to lower her expectations before she'd even lost her baby teeth. Friday arrived with warm sunshine and the kind of spring weather that made everything feel possible. Emma had managed to trade shifts with Paulo, the night custodian, and she depressed her nicest blouse. The blue one Maria said made her look pretty. She felt nervous in a way she hadn't expected, as if she were going on stage herself. When she arrived at the multipurpose room, it was already filling with mothers, some in business suits rushing from office jobs, others in casual clothes, a few with younger siblings in tow. They all had one thing in common: they'd shown up. Emma scanned the room and found Sophie standing near the stage in her flower costume, her eyes searching the crowd with an anxiety that no 6-year-old should have to feel. Then Sophie saw her. The relief and happiness that flooded the little girl's face made every inconvenience worth it. Sophie waved frantically, and Emma waved back, finding a seat in the 3rd row. A woman next to her smiled. "Which one is yours?" "The tulip," Emma said, and realized with surprise that her heart had swelled with something very close to pride. The play was exactly what you'd expect from first graders, slightly chaotic, absolutely adorable, with several children waving at their parents mid-song and one boy who picked his nose for the entire performance. But Sophie was radiant. She sang every word of the song about mothers who help their children grow, and when she smiled at Emma during the chorus, Emma felt tears prick her eyes. Afterward came the reception. Sophie rushed over with her handmade card, slightly crumpled from being clutched too tightly. Inside she'd written in careful letters, "Thank you for being here. Love, Sophie." Below it was a drawing of 2 figures holding hands, one tall, one small, with a big yellow sun overhead, as they stood together eating cookies, making small talk with other parent-child pairs. Emma noticed something. Several other mothers kept glancing at them with expressions ranging from curiosity to concern. Finally, one woman approached, perfectly coiffed, designer handbag, expensive perfume. "I'm sorry, but are you Sophie's—" She let the question trail off delicately. "I'm Emma," Emma said simply, putting a hand on Sophie's shoulder. "I work at the school. Sophie asked me to come today." The woman's expression shifted to something that might have been pity or judgment or both. "Oh, how unconventional. Where's Victoria?" "I know her from the Women's Leadership Conference. She's such an inspiration, running a billion-dollar company, breaking glass ceilings." Sophie pressed closer to Emma's side. Emma felt a flash of anger on the child's behalf but kept her voice even. "Mrs. Chen had business in New York. I'm sure she wishes she could be here." "Of course," the woman said, but her tone suggested she found the whole situation slightly scandalous. She walked away, immediately whispering to another mother. Emma looked down at Sophie, who was staring at her shoes. "Hey," Emma said gently, crouching down. "You know what? That lady's right about one thing. Your mama is doing important things. But you know what else is true?" Sophie looked up. "What? You're important too. Just as important as any meeting or any deal. Don't ever forget that." Sophie nodded slowly, then wrapped her arms around Emma's waist. Over the child's head, Emma noticed Ms. Rodriguez watching them with wet eyes, giving her a grateful nod. As Emma prepared to leave an hour later, having stayed for the entire reception and helped Sophie clean up her art station. The little girl grabbed her hand. "Emma, can I ask you something?" "Anything, sweetie. Could you maybe come to my recital next month? I'm learning piano, and there's going to be a performance, and—" Her voice grew smaller. "It's probably dumb. You're probably busy." Emma knelt down one more time, taking both of Sophie's small hands in her larger ones. "Sophie Chen, I will be at your recital, I promise." And she was. She was there for the recital, and for the science fair 2 months later where Sophie built a volcano that actually erupted. She was there for the end-of-year assembly and the ice cream social. Sometimes Victoria Chen made it too, looking harried and checking her phone but present nonetheless. Emma noticed that Sophie's mother seemed surprised each time she saw Emma there, surprised that a custodian would keep showing up for a child that wasn't hers. But Emma understood something Victoria was still learning. Showing up was everything. It wasn't about grand gestures or expensive gifts or even providing opportunity. It was about being the person in the audience, the hand to hold, the steady presence that said, "You matter. You're worth my time." Years later, when Sophie graduated from Riverside Elementary with honors, she gave a speech as class representative. "I want to thank all the people who helped me grow," she said, her voice clear and confident. "My teachers, my friends, my mom." She smiled at Victoria, who was there in the front row for once, "and someone special who taught me that family isn't just about who you're related to. It's about who shows up." From her seat in the back, Emma Martinez wiped away tears and smiled. Sometimes the most important thing you can give a child isn't in your job description. Sometimes it's just showing up with love, ready to be whatever they need. Even if it's just pretending to be a mother for a school play and then choosing day after day to make that pretending real.